My name's Liz. I am called LAW the Rock Whisperer in the art world. I say Mother Nature does the sculpting and I do the painting. I started painting rocks about 2009. My mother was sick with cancer and I was taking care of her and I was kind of bored, so I found my brother's books from Lynn Wellingford and decided to try painting rocks. I pretty much now paint what I see in the rocks. I only use sometimes Lynn Wellingford's books for backup, but most of my rocks are all my own, out of my head. I find rocks and I look at them and I know exactly what they're going to be. They tell me, is what I say. And I really enjoy painting rocks. And I'm so thankful for Josie and Amanda for letting me put my rocks in the shop. When I see a rock, I automatically see what is on the rock. I saw everything on this rock, the basket with the corn, the Native American with the blanket, and on the back I saw the papoose, the little papoose. Everything just, as soon as I pick up a rock, it's like the rock is telling me what they want to be. This frog, if you can see the indentation, was already there, and it was sticking out of the ground kind of at an angle like this, and I pulled it out and I was like, oh my gosh, that is a frog. And I decided to make a blue poison dart frog. I found the robe. I picked up this rock and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a robe. And the arm was already on there. The thumb was already on there. And so I found another rock, painted the vase on, and glued them together, and found a third rock and glued it on there. So it's 3 rocks. And that's my chief. Betty Boop was a rock that was requested. And I was like, oh my gosh, she wants 3 heart rocks and she wants Betty Boop on one of them. So I looked at this and I was like, oh my gosh. And I have done so many Betty Boops that I just drew the face on automatically. And I thought, that looks good. And as you can see, there's 3 heart rocks. The bottom rock is actually from Montana. The buffalo was shaped like this naturally. And I took wood putty to make his fluffy fur and his horns and his tail. One of my favorite rocks was the beetles. I didn't intend to paint the beetles. I painted the beetles and took them to work, gave each one of my coworkers a beetle. Then my supervisor said, okay, Liz, I want the beetles. And I said, I gave you a beetle. No, didn't you hear? I want the beetles. And I said, oh. So I went home and I worked on painting some small rocks and painted George, Paul, Ringo, and John on rocks. And because my supervisor said it like that, I decided to put them in a box, and I took the box in and I told my supervisor, here's your box set of the Beatles.